On a damp winter evening, in a packed neighborhood of China, a young man named Alysa Liu stood at a junction that would split his life into two uneven halves. Before departure, after courage, the air carried a faint scent of cold smoke and distant rain. Behind him rested familiarity, language, history, memory. Ahead of him lay uncertainty wrapped in hope. He carried one suitcase worn at the edges and a conviction so fierce it felt like warmth beneath his ribs. He did not simply want to leave. He wanted to transform. Arthur had grown up believing that destiny was something assigned. Yet, as he matured, he began to suspect it was something seized. Political pressure and limited freedom tightened around his ambitions. He dreamed of studying law, of defending voices that trembled in courtrooms, of building a future defined by choice rather than fear. So he departed, not dramatically, not heroically, but quietly, the way most courageous decisions are made. When he arrived in the United States, the silence was different. It was not the silence of restriction, but the silence of not yet belonging. He struggled with English. Sentences felt like puzzles. He worked long shifts, washing dishes until his fingers wrinkled, hauling crates until his back throbbed. He counted coins carefully. Some nights he questioned whether hope alone could sustain him. But hope, when disciplined, becomes resilience. He enrolled in college, then law school in California. He studied obsessively as though knowledge were oxygen. Professors began to notice the intensity in his eyes. He graduated, passed the bar, and gradually built a legal career. Clients respected his meticulous preparation. Colleagues admired his refusal to surrender. The immigrant who had once slept in a cramped room was now standing in courtrooms speaking with authority. Yet, ambition and career did not silence a quieter longing. Fatherhood. Arthur did not wait for tradition to grant permission. He chose surrogacy, determined to create a family founded on deliberate love. On August 8, 2005 Clovis, he held his daughter for the first time. She was impossibly tiny, her fingers curling instinctively around his thumb. He named her Alysa. In that hospital room, beneath fluorescent lights and the hum of distant machines, he felt a new chapter begin, one more powerful than any courtroom victory. Alysa grew up surrounded by books and quiet discipline. Her father read to her at night stories of perseverance, biographies of leaders, tales of distant lands. She was curious, energetic, endlessly in motion. She spun in circles across the living room floor until she collapsed, laughing. Movement was her language before words were. One afternoon when she was 5, Arthur took her to an ice rink simply to fill a weekend hour. The cold air nipped at her cheeks. She stepped cautiously onto the ice, gripping the barrier with small, determined hands. She fell within seconds. Arthur moved to rush toward her, but she was already pushing herself up. She tried again. Wobble, slide, fall. Then something shifted. For a brief moment, she glided. It was not graceful by any technical measure, but it was free. The sound she made, a bright ringing laugh, echoed against the rink ceiling. In that instant, Arthur felt the subtle click of destiny aligning. Lessons began. At first, they were modest. Once a week, then twice. Coaches noticed her unusual balance and fearless rotation. She did not hesitate before attempting spins. She attacked them. She was small, compact, quick to rotate in the air. By 7, she was landing jumps that astonished spectators. By 10, her routines carried complexity beyond her years. Training reshaped their lives. Mornings began in darkness. Arthur brewed coffee while Alysa tied her skates with fingers still stiff from sleep. He drove her through quiet streets, headlights cutting through fog. While she practiced, he worked remotely from the stands, legal briefs open on his lap. Sometimes he glanced up just in time to see her crash onto the ice. His heart clenched each time, but she always rose. Falling became part of her education. Competitions followed. Small regional events at first. Medals made of modest metal. Applause polite and brief. Then larger arenas, brighter lights, sharper scrutiny. Judges scribbled notes. Audiences whispered. Alysa learned to channel nerves into energy. Her programs grew more intricate. She pursued difficulty, triple jumps, ambitious combinations. When she attempted elements that older skaters hesitated to risk, commentators began to use one word repeatedly: prodigy. At 13, she stepped into the national spotlight. The arena buzzed with anticipation. She was visibly younger than many competitors, her cheeks still rounded with childhood. Yet when the music began, her posture transformed. She attacked each element with startling precision. The crowd gasped as she completed her program cleanly. When scores flashed across the screen, history shifted. She had become the youngest national champion in American figure skating. Arthur wept quietly in the stands, but triumph casts long shadows. With fame came scrutiny. Every practice session felt observed. Headlines speculated about Olympic potential, world dominance, future records. Sponsors called, cameras followed. Alysa smiled for interviews, yet at night, she sometimes stared at the ceiling, replaying mistakes only she noticed. Expectations tightened like invisible laces around her ribs. She trained harder. Her jumps grew more ambitious, her programs more demanding. Minor injuries surfaced. Sore ankles, aching hips. Physical therapy appointments joined their schedule. Arthur monitored everything, fiercely protective yet aware that greatness requires endurance. In 2022, she walked onto the grand stage of the Winter Olympics in Beijing. The symbolism was not lost on her. She was the daughter of a man who had left China seeking freedom, now returning as an American athlete beneath Olympic lights. The arena shimmered with spectacle. Flags waved. The air vibrated with anticipation. Her performances were courageous, though not flawless. She fought for every landing. When the competition concluded, she felt pride blended with exhaustion so deep it seemed cellular. The dream she had pursued since childhood had materialized, and in materializing, it revealed its cost. Months later, she announced her retirement. The sports world reacted with disbelief. 16 was too young, critics said. She was walking away from medals, not yet won. But Alysa's voice was steady. She wanted to breathe without being measured. She wanted to attend school and explore an identity beyond athletic output. Arthur supported her decision, though privately, he wrestled with the silence that followed. The rink, once the center of their universe, faded into memory. University life introduced Alysa to anonymity. Classmates knew little of her titles. She studied, laughed in dorm rooms, discovered music and literature. She learned who she was when not defined by rotation speed or base value. For the first time, she felt weightless. Yet absence sharpened affection. Occasionally, she visited an empty rink. Late at night, when fluorescent lights hummed softly, she laced her skates again. She moved without choreography, without judges. The ice remembered her. Muscle memory resurfaced like an old friend. The glide felt different now, less desperate, more intimate. One evening, after a solitary session, she sat on the bench gazing at her reflection in the darkened glass. She realized she no longer feared skating. She no longer skated to demonstrate worth. She skated because it felt like truth. In 2024, she began structured training once more. This time, the approach was deliberate. She balanced academics and athletics. She prioritized health over spectacle. Coaches remarked on her maturity. Her programs evolved artistically. She selected music that reflected introspection rather than youthful exuberance. Audiences noticed the difference. She was no longer a prodigy chasing difficulty. She was an artist shaping narrative. The road back was not seamless. Early competitions exposed rust. Jumps faltered unexpectedly. Timing wavered. Critics resurfaced, but Alysa responded with patience. Each setback refined her resolve. Arthur watched from the stands once more. Older now. Hair threaded with gray, pride mingled with awe. She had chosen this return freely. By the 2026 season, whispers intensified. Could she reclaim dominance? Had time away strengthened or weakened her edge? The World Championship approached like a reckoning. In the final practice before competition, she skated alone in near darkness. She thought of her father stepping onto foreign soil decades earlier. She thought of the little girl laughing after her first fall. She inhaled deeply and let gratitude replace fear. Competition day arrived. The arena lights blazed. Cameras hovered. She stepped onto the ice in a costume understated yet luminous. When the opening notes of her short program began, she felt a calm unlike any before. Her first jump soared to a clean landing. The second was secure, spins accelerating into perfect centering. The crowd responded with growing astonishment. She exited the ice leading the standings. The free skate would decide everything. As she waited behind the curtain, she pressed her palms together. Arthur caught her eye from the stands. No words passed between them, but years of shared sacrifice flowed silently. The music began, haunting, expansive. Her choreography unfolded like a confession. Triple jumps rose and settled with authority. A complex combination drew a roar from the audience. Midway through the program, she felt a flicker of imbalance, a reminder that perfection is fragile. But she corrected midair, landing with fierce control. In the final seconds, she poured everything into a spin sequence that blurred into brilliance. When the music ended, silence hung for a heartbeat before the arena erupted. Scores took an eternity. When they appeared, history shifted again. World Champion 2026. She covered her face, overwhelmed. Tears traced lines through her stage makeup. On the podium, as the medal settled against her chest, she felt not triumph alone, but completion. The journey from immigrant dream to global title had curved through doubt, withdrawal, rediscovery, and return. Arthur stood below, clapping until his hands stung. Later, in a quiet corridor away from cameras, they embraced. He recalled the young man on the rooftop in China. She remembered the child on uncertain skates. Their stories were braided, sacrifice and joy, departure and arrival. That night, alone in her hotel room, Alysa placed the medal on the table and stared at it. Gold reflected lamplight softly. She understood now that victory was not a single moment, but a continuum, every fall endured, every risk taken, every pause honored. The girl who once skated to meet expectation had become a woman who skated to express truth. And somewhere beneath layers of time and geography, a suitcase once carried across an ocean seemed lighter at last.